Hey, Neil Patterson here. For only $5 a month, you can be supporting your boy, me, if you enjoy my stupid videos, if you enjoy my little comedy skits, if you enjoy my podcast. This is the best way. For only $5 a month. Check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Neil P. Neil P. Thank you in advance for getting me through 2021 and beyond. Yo, hey, how you doing? This is Neil Patterson. This is my podcast, SUPcast, and I'm whispering right now because everyone in the house is asleep and we have a house guest right now, so I'm kind of whispering, but also welcome to episode 73 of SUPcast. This is the podcast that I started in 2019. Today's episode is really cool and a really cool conversation with Vander Ark, Michigan dude done well, songwriter and lead singer of the band The Verve Pipe, who in the 90s had a hit song. And we talk about that, and we talk about ICP and some other shit. So let's get into the fucking conversation because it's an hour and 20 minutes. I don't really want to make long podcasts anymore. I'm done. I quit that shit. I'm done with that shit forever, okay? So let's get into it. But real quick, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. All of these things help what is called the algorithm. And the algorithm works if there's engagement with the video. And if you want this show to do well, you gotta like it. You gotta comment. Tell me what you're thinking. So it's down below. You can press stuff. You can comment with your fingers on your phone. You can comment with your keyboard if you're on your laptop and just do something. Engage with the video. And before we get into the episode as well, if you see these balloons up here, they're a little bit out of focus, but I hit 10K on TikTok. So make sure you go into the description and you follow me, TikTok, at Neil P. And now that all that crap's out of the way, let's get into it. SUPcast number 73. Ayaya. Hey, what's up? My name is Neil Patterson. I'm a dude, and this is my podcast, SUPcast, as in What's Up Cast. Put them together. This is episode number 73 of my internet program that I've been doing since the year 2019. And I'm here with the legend, Michigan rock and roll legend, Vander Ark, who I met through the app TikTok, which is weird because TikTok, because I met the Chocolate Rain guy through TikTok. And I was, yeah, it's weird. And I was talking to my buddy.
That guy.
Yeah, Chocolate Rain.
This is like the classic talk show because you look taller than me. You're above me.
Oh yeah, maybe on the screen, but as far as what I saw on TikTok, you're a tall man. I am 5'10". I'm what's considered average height in the United States.
Is that average height?
That's what they say.
All right.
Aren't you like 6'6"?
Yeah, I'm 6'6".
That's crazy. I played football with dudes that were like 6'4", and they were huge compared to me.
Oh my God. First of all, way too thin and frail and scared to play real football. But yeah, those guys, I met all the Michigan State guys and they're fucking enormous when we were playing back in the day. I mean, it was just like unbelievable the size of those kids.
Did you go to Michigan State?
No, I hung out at Michigan State.
Yeah, East Lansing.
My other guys went to Michigan State, but I went to Kalamazoo Valley Community College for a couple of years, intending to go to Western, and then I never went to Western.
Being a Michigan person, there aren't too many like bands besides like Eminem or fucking Kid Rock that actually have a hit song, and you're one of them. So it's when Michigan people do well. There's a pride involved. Like, you know, I met Vinny from Sponge. That was a big deal for me. Because in the 90s, these songs shaped me. Because I'm 41 years old, but when your song hit, when Plowed by Sponge hit, it was very influential to me because I'm like, wow, you can be a band from Michigan and you can do the damn thing. So here we are.
You know, I thought the same thing. I felt the same thing when Sponge hit. I was like, okay, fucking A, here we go. There's now an opportunity. You know, Eminem wasn't around. Kid Rock, we all kind of knew from the clubs, but he had like the Vanilla Ice hair and he was just kind of a joke. You know what I mean? Kind of like, who is this kid? What's he doing? He's rapping and everything. And now he can buy and sell us all, of course.
Right. So,
You know?
so Sponge hit before your song, correct? As far as the timeline?
Oh yeah. They were before I think we hadn't even signed a deal yet. Like we signed our deal in 90, I want to say 94. I think that song came out in 94. So about that time, you know, and I didn't know those guys at all. You know, we didn't know the Detroit scene at all. We were all, you know, we were West Michigan, which was mostly just playing colleges and that kind of thing, you know, which was great. Actually, it's how we got to be good players and playing different college every night in Michigan. You just go from one college to the next, you know.
And you're from Grand Rapids, right?
I am, yeah, still live there.
Still Grand Rapids. So the band formed what year?
92, August of 92. We took two bands that were doing really pretty well in the local scene. And we played a show together, and I got the idea. I had kind of a drummer that was a bit weak, and they had a really good drummer. It was a band called Water for the Pool, and we were Johnny with an I. And they had a great drummer, and a great guitarist. And I said, hey, I called him up after the gig, the drummer. I said, hey, why don't we break up our bands and form a new band and try to like combine our mailing list, you know, and I have songs, you have songs. Let's, you know, really make a go at it. You know, and that's what we did. And then it was pretty quick after that. I mean, our first album was, you know, we sold maybe 20 or 30,000 just playing the clubs in Michigan. And then the next one, maybe 50,000, I think. And then we got signed by RCA after that. You know?
So 2 independent albums before you signed.
Yeah. 2 independent albums. One of them had The Freshman on it. So The Freshman's really old. That was on that first album.
Oh, wow.
And it was an acoustic version of it. And when RCA came out, we had 6 or 7 labels come out to see us. Everybody passed, including RCA. But then the next time we played out, and we played next time RCA came out, maybe a year later, you know, we played at Club Soda, Kalamazoo, favorite.
Oh yeah,
favorite play. Loved that place. Unfortunately, gone now. But he witnessed the whole play singing The Freshman, like everybody knew the lyrics this time out. And he's like, oh shit, maybe there's something here. You know what I mean? So, and then we put a demo together with Photograph on it, which did pretty well, and a couple other songs, and The Freshman, and that got us signed. Yeah, that was it. So
was Photograph was one of the other singles from the album that The Freshman was on, right?
Yeah, that was the first single. That was the one that, you know, first time you make a video for MTV and the whole thing. So that was a big deal for us. Photograph and it did pretty well. I think it got in the top 10 in the alternative chart or whatever. And then the next single failed. And then, you know, the record label, they promised 5 singles. There's 5 hits on this record. We're going to take it slow. We're going to develop this thing, you know. And the second single kind of failed. It was a song called Cup of Tea. And immediately they went to The Freshman. They're like, okay, well, we're going right here now. And fuck the other songs, the singles. So that was it, you know.
So they smelled that. Was that part of the plan initially, or do they just put out the single they think has the most potential and then they move on to the next and move on to the next kind of thing? Or is it like a long plan?
I mean, typically the plan would be, back then you had a little bit of artist development that went on. You don't really have that today. So, you know, I think that the plan is a long-term thing. I mean, we signed a 3-album deal with a couple of options after that. So it seemed like it was going to be in for the long haul, but we realized pretty quickly, like I said, they were going to put the nail in the coffin if the second single didn't work and we didn't do Freshman, then they could have potentially put the nail in the coffin and that would have been it.
Shit.
So you learn these things. Yeah. So then The Freshman's never released, and then, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, at least that's what I was told. So we said, yeah, let's just go with The Freshman and see what happens. And it ended up hitting, you know.
That's badass. Yeah. So TikTok is TikTok. Let's go to
fucking hard it is.
Yeah. Well, what I really, you hear so many stories about like bands like Warrant where they like really resent Cherry Pie, and you hear about bands where they have a hit and they resent it for the rest of their careers. And I actually
Cherry Pie though. I mean, it's Cherry Pie. Listen, nothing against Warrant, but you know, I mean, I think we've always kind of aspired to write who we are. Well, I guess, you know, Warrant wrote who they were. It was Cherry Pie.
Is that who they were?
I know. I never thought in a million years. Actually, I knew to expect something different talking to you, Neil. And already I'm defining who Warrant was.
Yeah, we're going in.
for the record, I don't know Warrant. I don't know anything about
Neither
Warrant
do I.
other than
I think
the fact that I used to work for a company that stocked CDs and tapes, and they sold the shit out of that record.
Hell yeah.
You know, and anybody that sold the shit out of their records, I was jealous as fuck. I mean, there would be on top of this was like at Walmarts and Kmarts and things. I'd visit the store, and on top of the shelves of the CD racks or cassette racks were cassettes that went to the ceiling of Paula Abdul and Vanilla Ice and Warrant and fucking Damn Yankees and all this other shit. You know, nothing against Damn Yankees at all, but I'm just saying, so I got this little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth still from that day of like, oh my God, these bands, that we can do it. And I don't know why it's so hard for us, you know. Of course, that was in 90, you know, nobody knew what was going on. Anyway, I got sidetracked there. So what was the question about cherry pie?
Well, it seems to me like you have a really good, healthy attitude towards the Freshman and the song that made, you know, and just to put it out there, the closest thing I've ever had to a hit in my music career was doing a children's song with the Insane Clown Posse. That's
Great.
That's the closest thing. So I'm another person who doesn't know anything about the world of writing a hit song. I've never lived in that world, so I'm going to ask dumb questions. But
understood.
But I also, you know, because it's got to get old after a while talking about this shit. But another thing I wanted to point out is the dude from Living Colour, who their hit song Cult of Personality, he recently was quoted saying there's a special place in hell for an artist that resents their one hit song. And like that's
a strong statement. But
I think it depends on what song we're talking about here, because maybe Cherry Pie, because I think what you were getting to saying is that the Freshman is more who you are than a song like talking about vagina, cherry pie type thing.
Well, it's not even that, because you can be that person that writes songs about vaginas.
True.
And you can have success and great. You had a great career. And you know what? What the fuck? You got a career in music because you know how to write a great song, a poppy hit song about vaginas. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? So own it. I say own it. You know, for me though, I grew up listening to storytelling songs, you know, kind of the Harry Chapins and the James Taylors and all that shit. You know, I'm 57 now. So this was like early 70s AM radio. I would hear these songs and you'd listen to the story. And I wanted to write songs that had a story to it. And I think that's where we stayed true to ourselves. We told a linear story in The Freshman, and it hit with people. They identified with the story, even though a lot of them still to this day don't know what the story is. But somehow they identified it. It hit with that group, the Gen X group. And I'm really proud of that. I mean, listen, it's tough to write a fucking hit song. I didn't write The Freshman to be a hit song. That was the one that I knew the first time I played it. I sang all the words wrong because I didn't know it well enough. And people still came up to me afterwards and the first time and said, hey, what was that song about somebody touching her face and that kind of thing? You know, and I was like, oh shit, there's something here. I knew right away. So, you know, like I'm saying, nothing against writing songs about vaginas, nothing against anything, anybody, any kind of song that you write that might not be in my flavor, you know, in my catalog, my home recordings, but as long as you own it and that's who you are, and it's who you're identified with, and you're proud of being identified with that, fucking A, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm very proud of The Freshman. I mean, we went through a period of time where I was sick of it for sure, but you know, there's that period of time where it's played so much that, and this is a great problem to have. But I remember back in the day, it was nobody would play another song from us because they'd be like, we're still playing The Freshman. We can't play your new single. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a great problem to have, you know? So during that period of time, I was so sick of The Freshman. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to play it. I think we always played it, but I didn't want to play it. And then you go through this period where I look around, I go, hey, my kids go to a nice school. We got a nice house. You know what I mean? And it's because of that song that I can do other things. And also when I play it live, it brings people to a place that they love typically. they want to be nostalgic, and I can bring them someplace live. And I think that's an important thing, at least important to me, So that's the best way I can really explain it to you, Neil. I don't know.
That's
how I feel. I mean,
that's dope. Let's go into, because you say some people don't understand the story behind the song, like they know the melody, they know the lyrics, but do you mind going into kind of the story of the song? Because
no, man, not at all.
Some of it's a little vague to me.
Yeah, it's poorly written. Is what it is. I mean, first of all, that was one of the earliest songs I had written, right? So I'm playing around with poetry, trying to make something poetic. I got a thesaurus for the first time, and I'm trying to find words that I don't need to, that I want to make me sound smarter, that I don't need to, that I don't need to use, that make no sense to the song. And this was indicative of all the songs back then, instead of just writing the story. But there's a lot of metaphor. I discovered metaphors, so there's a lot of metaphors in there. And there's some things that don't make any sense, like the touch on her face line. It meant nothing. And that's the one everybody wants to know about. You know what I mean? I mean, when I was writing the song, I don't know how much time you have today, but these stories could go on forever because I want to hear some of your stories too.
Well, usually I've been trying to make this a little bit more succinct. I used to do the fucking Joe Rogan thing and go for 3 hours, and then no one was watching it. So I want, let's try and do an hour's good.
Okay, that's great. Okay, real quick, I'll just tell you this. When I was writing the song, right, I had this idea. I had been going out with this girl, and then we broke up. It was a casual relationship, and then she had a casual relationship with a friend, and then they broke up, and then we went back out again. And then he, back and forth. We didn't pass her back and forth, but she was just kind of hang out, whatever. And she got pregnant and she has an abortion. We don't know who the dad is. Right. And that's where the story ends. Like, I still don't know who the father was. Right. So I thought, well, there's a story there that's worth exploring. And so I wrote the song about a couple guys who went to college, did some things, whatever, that they had done, they regret for. But I didn't even have that they were in college yet. In fact, it took me a year to write the song, get the structure of the song, and I didn't even have the freshman after almost a year. Right? Oh, wow. And then I'm sitting there one morning. I'm still working at a sporting goods store. And I'm sitting there before work, and I'm noodling around with this song, and I get the last line, ba da 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 da, and I'm walking around the house. Got to make some breakfast, got to quit my day job kind of thing, trying to come up with this line, and I'm sitting there and MTV's on with the sound off in the corner. You can still see it. And then on the coffee table, I look down and I'm like, what is this song? What do I do? And I'm looking at the coffee table, and right there on the coffee table is the movie I had rented the night before, the VHS copy of the movie starring Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick called The Freshman.
Ah.
And I was like, holy shit, that's it, right? These guys were freshmen, and anybody can identify with them and kind of forgive them because you do these things when you're first go to college, you do all these terrible things or whatever, and you're forgiven for it because they're freshmen, that kind of thing. So I was like, it's perfect. So I figured out, made them freshmen, and then I was missing the one other line, which was she was touching her face, and on MTV at that moment. And mind you, I'm already going to be 5-10 minutes late for work. But on MTV is the Divinyls video for I Touch Myself. And she's laying back touching her face. And I'm like, she was touching her face. That's sexy. There you go.
Wow.
And that's how it came together. It could have been a whole different thing. Had I not rented that movie, you know what I mean? That's how crazy the universe works, man. I mean, that's just nuts to me. Had I not rented that movie, that we wouldn't have the freshman today, and I'd be in a whole different place in my life. I'd probably be a regional manager at this sporting goods store.
Yeah, moving on up. So that moment before you were late to work, and the freshman on VHS and the Divinyls on MTV just combined synergistic combination, and then you finished the song.
I finished the song. That was it.
Wow.
That was it. I think I played it the next night, like I said, and I got all the words wrong because I didn't know it well enough, and nobody really cared. They just liked those lines, and and so then we released it. We sold the 20,000 copies or whatever, and then we did pretty well around Michigan State area, and then RCA came sniffing around and got us, and they asked us to re-record the song in a more modern fashion, as record labels will want to do.
Yeah.
they didn't back then. I mean, it was really hitting hard with the heavier alternative, not grunge, but alternative.
It was like
stuff.
post grunge.
Yeah, it was post grunge. And so we did that, and that was the song. That was the version that was a hit. After we recorded a couple different times that didn't work, we ended up recording it the right way, I think, for radio.
So was it just acoustic and vocals on the first record?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had like a 4-tap delay on my acoustic guitar, so it was that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then a vocal, and that was it. Yeah, maybe a bass. Maybe the bass is on there. I don't know. But then the second version we did with Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads, he produced the first debut album for us. He made it kind of a Chris Isaak thing, it ended up being like 6 minutes long. Labor was like, "What the fuck?"
Did it have like twangy Chris Isaak guitar and whatnot?
It did.
Oh, nice.
Sometimes it's on if you ever hear it in karaoke. In fact, I just did a karaoke again of it the other day when we were in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they had that old version of it. So it's got a real sleepy vocal, and I'm doing a little falsetto thing in there and all the Chris Isaak-isms, And so anyway, so they said no, and they ended up stripping it off. We ended up releasing the album with that on it, and then it was almost like they recalled it because they wanted us to re-record it. So there are people that still have the original copy that does not have the hit on it. It's got that sleepy version on it. The first 50,000 that bought the record or something like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's versions of Insane Clown Posse back to those guys. They're Michigan guys. There's versions of their album Great Malenko that came out on Disney and it got yanked, and there's like a different track list, and there's some songs didn't end up on the final version that got put up by Island, yada yada. Well, that's an interesting tidbit. Well, I'm learning.
I mean, I aim to please. I aim to teach. I'm teaching the young kids like you who are, whatever. I know where I'm going with that. Let it go.
I'm gonna let it go. It's dope to have you here. Thanks for being on the program. To the clock.
My name is Brian Vander Ark, by the way. I don't think we ever got it.
I did say Brian Vander Ark.
Did you? Damn it.
But here, let me reiterate. I'm here with fucking Brian Vander Ark of the Verve Pipe. And, I might do a little...
I interrupted you. That's why I thought...
It doesn't matter. Right. None of this shit matters. This is very loose, my internet program thing. It's also weird because there's less of an organic back and forth, I feel, when you're doing the Zoom thing as opposed to an in-person podcast. You can kind of tell when people are done speaking and whatnot. I feel like it's a little fumbly with the Zoom thing. You kind of fumble over people, not on purpose. It's just a...
Did you interview before did you have this before the shutdown, the whole thing, the COVID thing?
I was doing it in my van. And that was the idea behind the podcast. It's a podcast in a van, and then I would have bands, and I interviewed the dude from Bad Brains, and I interviewed a lot of, because I'm from the punk world, so I interviewed a lot of punk people because that's my world. I tour with punk bands, and I've sang in the band Reagan Youth for a couple years, and just punk rocky, whatever. But it started off like DIY podcast in a van, and then the pan sandwich happened, and then I had to teach myself how to do cameras and audio and all this bullshit.
Which setup looks great. I noticed that on TikTok when you do that, when you're talking, it looks like it was clips of you being interviewed. But anyway, your setup looks great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got some free money from the government. I spent it all.
I spent mine on my kids. You must not have kids. Do you have kids?
We have 3 cats.
Oh, well, they're cheap.
They're cheap compared to children. My girlfriend and I recently had the children conversation again, and I don't know. We just are trying not to. If it happens, we'll have a discussion at that point.
Right. But you're not looking to have kids. You're not looking to procreate.
Not at this point in the world. It's a little hairy. I have a nephew, and my brother, my brother's plate is really full with my nephew, and I just see how hard it is and how much of it's an investment of time, and it's just
or not, and that's the problem,
right?
You know what I mean? If it's not an investment of your time, then you're not doing it right. And that, if you have high expectations for yourself and you want to be better than your own father, this is my own self talking.
Yeah.
I want to be better than what my father was, which I feel like I am. He was a whole different generation. He was the generation of, just dad is going to read the paper after he gets home from work and, don't bother me.
Similar.
So that's, for me, it's like, but I had to say when my wife got pregnant, it's like, okay, this is it. This is the attention I'm going to give, and I'm going to make this the priority. And then we had 2 more kids after that. And then it was all hell broke loose. Just like, man for themselves. Well,
yeah, I've talked about it on the program a fuckload of times, but I come from an abusive childhood, and my dad was a pretty mean dude, and wasn't very nice, and didn't give me a whole lot of validation as far as doing anything correctly. So yeah, if I were to procreate, I would want to be the opposite of that. So I'd want to be very loving and understanding, and I'd want to put a lot of effort towards, raising the human being to be compassionate and in touch with their emotions and yada yada. I just want to be better than him. I don't think it would be very hard, right. But I would. It would really fuck me up if I perpetuated any sort of that bullshit that he put me and my brother and sister through. So just
the goal. I think if everybody had the goal of just doing better than your own parents did, what a great world we would be living in, at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the whole, I think that's the whole point. Now you're sober now, right? I saw a few of your videos where you were talking about sobriety. I didn't mean to turn it on to you.
No, this is great.
I'm curious about your personality. And I mean, I was just scrolling through TikTok and you would come up and I didn't know you. And I listened, you have a very completely open, like it feels like there's nothing you don't want to talk about. Like you're completely an open book. And I was like, I like this dude. Like I don't know him. And then I saw you sing the Celine Dion thing on whose tour were you on? And he came out and said, okay, that'll be enough of
Dead
that.
Kennedys.
Oh, it was the Dead Kennedys. That's right.
Yeah, he was.
And I thought, holy shit, man, this guy fucking cracks me up. And that's how that. And then I liked a bunch of videos and followed you or whatever. And you were like one of my first people I followed.
Oh wow, yeah. Well,
no, for real, yeah. The first musician I think I followed was you,
dude. That's fucking dope. Because when I got the notifications, I think I just got out of a yoga class or something, and I was just like, "What? The Verve Pipe is liking my shit?" And then I saw my notifications. I'm like, "The Verve Pipe is liking multiple of my videos." Okay, the Verve Pipe is commenting on my videos, and that's the great part about TikTok is because you can put yourself out there, and next thing you know, you'll be connecting with someone that you had absolutely. It's so random, the algorithm. Right. You'll be connecting with someone that you don't know them in real life. You had no idea you would ever connect with this person. So when you started liking my shit, I immediately messaged you. I'm like, yo, Mustard Plug, because they cover the freshmen. Yeah. And I'm like, but I thought that was dope because
you didn't think you were gonna you weren't coming at me in a punk way like Mustard Plug. Hey, like I was gonna get upset by that. Did you?
No, not at all. I just
their version's my favorite version. Your version sucks because that's what TikTok brings to me most times. But, I love that version.
Yeah, dude. My opinions as far as music is concerned, I don't hold I like pop music. I'm in the punk world, but I'm into like newer pop music, Charlie XCX, like weird hyper pop stuff. I like hip hop, and I'm a '90s kid. Like when the Freshman hit, when Sponge hit, when the band Live, Lightning Crashes, when that song was big on MTV, that shit molded me before I really got into punk. When I was like maybe in middle school, just learning how to play the guitar. I remember playing that plowed riff, that I remember learning that and just being like, these guys are from Detroit. And I was in the suburbs of Detroit, and I'm like, it can happen. Rock and roll, dreams.
Well, inspired you to pick up a guitar, or at least to learn that riff and to keep at it, and anytime you can, as a songwriter, well, you'll know that now. I'm sure you've inspired kids as well, but it's like, get them to pick up a guitar or an instrument,
Yeah.
There was that period of time where everybody was doing Guitar Hero, all these kids, and it's like, you're not learning how to play Guitar Hero. You're learning how to push buttons in time,
True.
Anyway, but your therapist would, if you had a therapist, he would say you're trying to, or he or she would say you're trying to avoid the question about sobriety.
Oh, okay. First of all, my therapist.
No. It was a flow we had.
No. Let's get into it.
I'm curious about that because I felt like you and I are kindred spirits. Another reason I followed you is because you talked about sobriety.
Yeah.
And you said if I have one drink, I'm gonna have all the drinks or something like that. Is what you said, and I know that, and yet I am not sober yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm walking that line. Like I have a bourbon safe. I have a safe. It's a snack safe I bought. And it has a top on it. I'll go grab it in a minute. I'll show you. And then you set the timer on it for up to 10 days. And then you push the button and these things come out of the side of the top. Well, you can't get this fucking thing open no matter what you do. You take the battery out, it'll go back to the time and it'll just count down. And I look at that and I usually set it for 3 or 4 days. And then I get into my bourbon and I'll say goodnight to the kids at 4 p.m. And my wife would say, Daddy's going to go read or listen to some music and drink some bourbon. It's like, all right, I'll see you in the morning. That kind of thing. I mean, that's, so I'm trying to get to the point where I can just say, why do I even need it? I just enjoy it so much.
Well, at least you're aware enough to put the fucking brakes on it, because I think it's
right.
It's so accepted in society to just have a drink everywhere you go, have a drink with your meal. And I mean, not to throw her under the bus, but my girlfriend, she works at home and has ever since the pandemic. She started her own business, is doing really well. And she is trying to police herself because it's very easy for her at 4 or 5 p.m. to open her first drink. And then, she doesn't like really binge, but one drink turns into 2 drinks, 3 drinks, and then she is complaining about how she doesn't feel well. The problem with me is one drink, it ignites something in my brain that's immediately like more. And then, by the time I'm on drink 16, my brain is still saying more until the point where I black out, wake up covered in piss, don't know how I got there. I'm really reckless when I drink too. I have too much fun, but also I forget that I'm a human being that takes up space in the universe. And I love fucking shit up. I like making people uncomfortable. I like getting in people's personal space. I like just fucking everything up. It's fun to me. It's like a game. I'm like, how can I fuck everything up right now that I got 10 drinks in me? And
go ahead, keep going.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. It's being aware of that lives inside of me. And it all came from being like an insecure kid growing up and like wanting people to think I was funny or cool. And when I just remember when I first started drinking in middle school, I put a couple drinks in me and it's like, that inhibition is lowered. I didn't know I had anxiety until I got diagnosed with like way later in life, but I was always like kind of anxious, worried about what people thought about me. So, a couple drinks gave me confidence. I could talk to people easier. And it just got to the point where I didn't know when to turn it off. So I'd have a couple drinks. I'd be funny at a party. I'd be making girls laugh. Yeah. And next thing I know, I'm like, got my pants around my ankles and I don't know where I'm pissing kind of thing. No. And that happened to me in high school. But people are like, that's just what you do. And then you eventually surround yourself with people who are the wild party animals, and they're all, you look at this motherfucker, Steven's worse than me, Greg's worse than me, these motherfuckers are...
You're comparing yours to theirs.
Yes,
that's never a good idea.
Yeah, and then we all relish in how terrible we are. Like, I had one dude we were friends with that fell into a bonfire, and ended up getting 3rd-degree burns all over his body, and it was just like, haha. Like, we seriously laughed about it.
But you get together now and you still laugh about it. I mean, these are the things, or maybe you don't. I don't know. But I mean, you still go, remember that time when so-and-so, you almost died and we all had to go visit you in the hospital? That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing is like, there's not enough emphasis put on the fact that there are happy drunks. You know what I mean? Every time you hear about drunks, it's always the abusive dad or boyfriend who's a drunk. Like, my dad was an alcoholic, but he was a super happy alcoholic. I mean, it was nice. He'd bring us gifts and stuff from after work. He'd be like, hey, my kids, and like, let's go swimming or something, and that kind of thing. And that's the way I am when I drink. I mean, everything's great. My wife knows not to talk about anything important when, that she wants me to remember when I'm drinking, because, I can have a full on conversation and have fun and laugh and everything. And then like the next day she'll be like, okay, well, are you ready to go to the zoo? And I'll be like, what do you mean go to the zoo? What are you talking about? Yeah, we're going to the winter zoo. You said that last night. I was like, what? Oh my God. And then I got to pretend like I know what I said.
I've been there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's it. But I've always been able to, I'm fortunate. I'm not like you. I mean, I get to a certain point where if I don't feel good and I know like if I have any, like my throat will close up and not want, another drink or I'm going to vomit.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. I'm fortunate that way. So knock on wood that sticks with me. Now, I've never had any kind of tragedy happen. I can't imagine. Knock on wood again. And I don't know how you react to that kind of thing. Like, would I just want to disappear? You know what I mean? And just keep drinking all the time. But for now, I got a pretty good system going, where I'm still under the government's recommended 14 drinks a week or something like that.
That's fine, dude. You sound like you're, I don't know. It sounds like the way you grew up, you're aware that it could be a problem, but it sounds like you have a few different ways to put brakes on any sort of excess. As far as what you're describing to me, and that's the thing, because my girlfriend's like, oh, I have a couple drinks a day, and well, like you said, 14 drinks a week. It's not terrible, but she does notice that she doesn't feel as good. And she also tells me stuff like it's not necessary, but she likes to wind down. She works hard. She works really fucking hard. And so she has a couple drinks and she winds down. Now me, I don't wind down at all. I go a million fucking miles an hour. I drink too much caffeine. I exercise. I talk too much. I sweat a lot. I'm anxious. And then at night I just hit a fucking brick wall and pass out. And it's
your
yeah.
I was gonna say your routine, your exercise routine too, by the way. I watched a little bit of that. You're kind of hardcore on the throwing the weights around. That's impressive.
Oh, that's weird. You actually like watch my shit. This is crazy.
No, I did, because I'm always interested what other people's habits are. Like, I know you lost weight, mm-hmm. And but then I saw one time I was like, oh my God, he's totally a gym guy too, because I saw you post something. You're in the gym and you're doing your thing, and I was like, okay, well, what's he doing? What's he doing to work out and all this stuff? And I was like, oh my God, it's fucking hardcore, dude. They like throw weights around like an army guy or something. I
got a bad back though. That's the thing, is like I can't lift heavy like I used to in high school.
Heavy to me, dude.
Oh, in high school it was like I had this football coach, and he's like, if you want to be an athlete, you have to train like an athlete. So we started putting weight on bars and throwing it around. And what's weird is when you're in high school, you're pretty much fucking invincible. Like I would smash my helmet, like coming off the line, like I would smash people. And I had all this pent up aggression from my childhood, and I was bullied my whole life for being a fat kid. So once I switched to the football thing, it was a way for me to actually assault other human beings, but in the guise of athletic competition, which is funny because
and being a hero, and having getting the accolades for
we weren't good
and everything. Well, I'm just saying from your teammates, that was a great hit, dude. And you're like, well, I really just tried to kill that guy. But.
Yeah, what's wild is I didn't really realize how much of me trying to transform my body and fucking hit other people hard had everything to do with trying to prove to my dad that I was a man. And the weirdest, I'm therapy did wonders for me. But then the weirdest part about all of it is even, I had gone from being like a really chubby guy to being like built and kind of like a pit bull in a way, and just really pissed off on the football field. Even then, my dad told me, he's like, you're on steroids, aren't you? And I wasn't. Yeah. And it's like, you can't even give me this. You can't even say
that little bit.
You can't even say good fucking job. You transformed your entire body, and now you're like on the starting football team. Like you can't. He couldn't give me any positive.
I have a very similar situation in the way my dad responded to something where I wanted some validation. But it wasn't athleticism. I was learning how to play guitar, and I was learning how to play solos, right? And so I'm doing the pentatonic, the box thing or whatever. I'm doing this. I still can't play fucking solos to save my life. This is probably why. This story is why. Because I'm in like 9th, 10th grade, and I'm playing, and then I call my dad and my stepmom into the basement. I said, hey, check this out. And I was like, it sounded pretty good. But I was like, and he goes, that's pretty good, but can you do it with your mouth closed? I was like, oh, fuck. like the one thing that I did that was not something that he thought was appealing out of what I was doing was the fact that I looked like a dope, because I'm like, it's like, all right, well, that was it for me.
Yeah, and parents don't realize that even those little comments, that little thing sticks with you.
I really got to let it go, Neil.
You can do it. Well, it takes time.
I just want to punch him in the face right now.
Yeah. Well, my father passed in 2016, but the last time I ever talked to him was actually all the way back in 2014 because I was with my ex at Christmas, and we had photoshopped a framed photo of us like in Christmas gear, and there's little like snow around the border of the photo, and we framed it and gave it to him as a gift. And as he opened it up, he looked at it, and then he looked at me. And he goes, "You really just can't smile normal, can you?"
Oh,
and I was like, but this is the thing is, I've always been a goofy fucking kid my whole entire life. I've always been a goofball, but I've always, loved entertaining people, attracting attention to myself, and just being a clown because that's just like feels normal to me. It feels natural to me. So for him, instead of being like, "Oh, this is nice," he just had to dig at me.
Right.
And then it was fucking weird. I didn't talk to him, and then he died. And yeah.
Oh, that was it. That was the last time.
The last time I ever talked to him was at that Christmas. The only time I talked to him was through a text message, and he was dying of cancer down in Tennessee. And my girlfriend at the time and I were going to drive down to Tennessee and bring Rick Simpson oil, which is like a highly potent cannabis thing that is supposed to help with cancer patients. Helps with your appetite, helps with pain management, yada, yada. We were going to bring him a bunch of that. And he just texted me, and this is kind of heavy, but I can talk about it because I've been in therapy so much. But he pretty much texted me and said, "Don't come." And that's it.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah, we were about to drive down there and try to give him some medicine. And
But up to that point, had you made an effort from the Christmas photo and everything? Had you made an effort to not see him?
Yeah. Well, I didn't.
It was intentional. Like, I don't ever want to see him again. Even when he got cancer, you're like, I'm not going to go see him.
Well, this is the thing: is I didn't have to make an effort because he didn't make an effort. So all I had to do was not make an effort, and then we didn't see each other. And then I tried to make an effort when he was sick, and he told me not to bother. So that was it. It just. Like all in all, a lack of effort from both parties, but throughout my whole childhood, a supreme lack of effort from him. But it's okay because I had my mom. My mom gave me guitar lessons. My mom gave me art lessons. My mom, when I quit college and started my band in 2001, she was like, "Do whatever makes you happy." She's a saint. My mom's the best. So
that's the balance. That's the universe again. The balance. We all need that balance. Imagine if you didn't have that. You know what I mean? Imagine the kids that don't have that don't have any kind of balance,
I'd probably be dead, or a sociopath. There's no way to know. But I could only speculate that without my mother, because my mother was a sensitive person and she was locked in a marriage financially, and she hated the guy. But she knew that he was abusing us, and so she just showered us in praise and love. So it was a weird dichotomy. It was very bipolar.
Yeah. I'll bet. My parents were both really religious. I mean, super Christian. So there was that whole element. We went to church twice on Sunday and once on Wednesday when I was a kid, Christian Reformed. It was awful. I mean, but all the way up until high school. I mean, almost graduation, we would do that. We weren't allowed to swim on Sunday. We lived on a lake. You couldn't swim on Sunday. You had to stay in your Sunday clothes. It was all that kind of shit. Yeah, it was awful. And so I think that I can't help but think that I know over time that I disappointed them. I kept disappointing my dad that I didn't go into Christian music. My mom was really on board with the whole thing. She's like, just have Jesus in your heart, and you don't have to, you don't have to have any more than that. On occasion, you might want to throw him a bone and write a song and mention him in it, but that's up to you, And so, I took her to Letterman. I took her to all the big shows. She got to go see Letterman and meet all. I mean, she had a blast, in those years with her. They're both dead now, but back then they were. My mom was a big part of everything that I was doing.
That's dope.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I mean, it was great to see, to see her be able to do those kinds of things. We never traveled when I was a kid, so she never went anywhere.
Yeah.
We went to Nebraska on a train once, Thanksgiving weekend to go see my extended family. But that's it. She never traveled anywhere, but, she'd come to Europe and then she was going to, like I said, Leno and Letterman, all these people, these icons and stuff. And she had a blast. So it was great. My dad, not so much. And then he died.
That's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. But, the connection with the father for me is like, just be a better father, like we were talking about, to my kids. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what I can do. And then in some way that honors him too, then great. You know, he raised me right to know enough to be able to do that, you know. So whatever.
Yeah, but shouts out to supportive moms. It's a very important thing.
Yeah. Well, Mother's Day's coming up too. Is this going to air? You should air this on Mother's Day in honor of our moms.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually going to air it, but like what I'm doing is I'm filming the week of and airing it the week of. So I'm kind of my workflow as of now is one podcast a week. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, good for you. And you were doing this pre-pandemic.
Correct.
I mean, it seemed like everybody jumped on the podcast thing in the pandemic, but you were really already doing it.
It was more fun pre-pandemic because I was living in LA and I had access to all of these touring bands coming through and I was like locked into kind of the local scene. So I just had all these weirdos in my van. Like the guy from Green Jello, I don't know if you remember the Three Little Pigs song. Little pig, let me in. Remember that?
Of course.
From the 90s?
How could I not?
Yeah, so I had him in my van and he told me the story about how he got signed without the label even hearing his band, and then he was roommates with the guy from Tool, and he got Tool signed because Tool played his party and the record label guy could. So this all happened in a week. So yeah, dude, the podcast thing is fun. It's I have a fucking blast doing this, and just the fact that you asked me a couple questions, that's like mind blowing to me, bro. You actually watch my shit.
Right, that's what podcast should be, though. You should just be having a conversation. I mean, you know, it's more fun that way. If it's just, you know, what does the name of your band mean? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm looking at the time then.
Well, we definitely have to touch on that. I feel a little bit, but
no, do it. I didn't mean to get sidetracked. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying. I think we already did.
You lead.
We already did. Reference. I got to talk about Insane Clown Posse, and that's important. I do that in every episode.
Yeah, how are those guys? I've never met those guys. I have a lot. Listen, honestly, man. I mean, when I first heard of them, I thought, oh my God, no, this is ridiculous. And the Fago thing and the whole thing. And then over time, I've really, like the Juggalos and the whole thing, I've really gotten to know a little bit more about them. And I'm like, you know what? It's pretty fucking brilliant what they did. You know what I mean? And how they've been able to maintain and how they're like the punk Fish. You know what I mean? They've got that kind of like crowd that will always be there for them. And how do you get that? You know what I mean? Like that's something that's marketing knowledge I need to know.
I think it's a testament. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, because, you know, our fans, you know, when we sold 3 million records, the second album, they all scattered. It was like, wait a minute, wait, what? We sold 20,000 of the follow-up record. I mean, you're just scratching your head going, I thought these people loved us. You know what I mean? Turns out, you know, people jump on and and they expect something from you. They want more of the freshmen. And if you take them for another ride, they're like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not going to buy that or whatever. So guys like Insane Clown Posse and Fish and any other band that has that fervent crowd base, you know, fan base, amazing. You know? Anyway, so what were you going to say?
I think it's just a testament to them being so themselves and them almost doing something that's like so niche that there's no other rap group that mixes like the face paint and the show and the horror stuff and then the goofy funny lyrics. They're just so, they did something that when it connected, there's no one else that can do what they do. And then they, it was
like Guar, really.
Exactly.
Guar had that as well. You know what I mean? That thing where you expected to go to a show and be shocked. You know what I mean? In the beginning. Yeah. I remember I saw him once with a buddy. I only saw him once. And they came out with, it was right after the John Bonet thing. Maybe maybe it was years later. Do you know this? They came out with a milk carton that, what was it?
The song is
giant milk carton that, you know, have you seen me? And it was, you know, they did the voice. Have you seen me? And it was John Bonet. I was like, oh my God, really? It's too soon.
Pretty tasteless. But that's that's actually like, you could be considered one of Guar's hits. The Have You Seen Me? And then Have You Seen Me?
That's right.
Terrible.
Anyway.
But I feel like, with Guar, it's so cartoony and over the top that it doesn't seem really as mean-spirited because it's like coming from the voice of a bunch of aliens from Antarctica that smoke crack. Like, how seriously can you take it? Just like, how seriously can you take two murderous clowns that rap about having sex with fat women and cutting people's heads off. Like how
I can take it as seriously as when people are murdered at their shows. That's how seriously I can take it. When somebody gets stabbed at one of the shows, that I go, I'm not going to go to that show.
But it doesn't happen. That's the thing with the.
No, I know. But that was the whole, like the rumor, like people are getting murdered at the Insane Clown Posse shows. You know?
Wow.
Like,
you heard that? That's crazy.
Faco and, and makeup and the whole thing. Like, wow.
The coolest part about their fan base is they consider themselves a family, so there's really very minimal violence. It gets like fights get broken up immediately. Like even at their music festival that has 10,000 people in attendance, there's no violence. There's minimal theft. There's like no assault. It's like people really treat each other like with the amount of respect you would expect from like an EDM crowd. Except the EDM crowd, I don't know, just seems like a bunch of bros on ecstasy. I don't know.
Right. You were saying earlier that you're a pop guy. You must have I grew up listening to pop music and then folk music and everything. I mean, it kind of ran the gamut. And then I got into the new wave shit. I was really into Elvis Costello for a long time and that kind of thing. But I had discovered the first Bob Mould record, and even before I had even heard Husker Du, I bought his solo record and I was like, oh my God, I fucking love Workbook. It was like I played that incessantly. I played that album over and over and over. And then I went back. This is how shielded I was, from music, like in a whole different area. I went back and discovered the Husker Du records, Flip Your Wig. And then, it's fucking great, but it was always his melodies that got me. Grant Hart's not so much, melodies melodically. But I don't know. Were you a fan at all? Were you a fan of Husker Du?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny. When I first got into punk rock, there's this dude named Eddie that lived a couple towns over, and I never met this guy, but he sent me via snail mail a sheet of paper, and he just wrote essential albums, and Husker Du Zen Arcade was on that. And this was in probably 96 or 97. And it's funny because back then it's like there was no internet for me to be like, what is punk rock? And then go on YouTube and look up a bunch of shit. It literally was a loose leaf piece of paper with just a bunch of albums written on it. Minor Threat, self-titled, Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, stuff like that. And I just went out to Borders Books and Music and got every single one of those albums, as I worked at my ice cream job. And I heard Zen Arcade, and which was like way different from Minor Threat, the complete discography. And I'm like, okay, this is more of like an alternative rock band, especially the Bob Mould, like more sing-songy cuts. And then I had, was it Columbia House where you get all the CDs?
Yep. Yeah. You get 13 CDs for a penny or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got their album Warehouse, which was like, it was very pastel. The album art was very pink. And then I'm like, okay, this is not punk at all. I feel like that was when they signed with Warner Brothers or something. I think that was like their major label debut or something like that. Yeah. But, and I grew up, I had an older sister, so I always enjoyed, she was into like Bon Jovi and shit, and we loved MTV. Like growing up as a kid in the late 80s and stuff, she was bigger than me, so she would take the remote control, and I was forced to watch. She would kick my ass. She forced us to watch whatever program she was watching, so it was always like heavy, like pop centered kind of stuff. So like Paul Abdul, like all that stuff you were saying was in big pile of cassette singles at that store you were working at. Yeah. That was my childhood, was Bon Jovi, Paul Abdul, Madonna, anything that was on MTV. And I always enjoyed with my sister listening to that kind of stuff. So yeah, Cyndi Lauper, like you name it. So yeah, when I got into punk, it just like added kind of to the cornucopia of stuff that I enjoy. So many people, they put themselves in a box. They're like, I'm a punk rocker or I'm a metalhead, Right. I like it all.
Well, we get that. I mean, I get that all the time too. I mean, listen, music is music. Did you was it a concerted effort to go to punk for you? Was it natural to you? Or were you just like, okay, I can play guitar, I can play these riffs, but you were saying like you play the Sponge riff. Yeah. You know what? And you play that, and that didn't inspire you to go in more of that direction. Like you went full on punk.
Yeah.
Like that's a band. That's the direction that you went as a band when you were influenced by so many other types of music genres. You decided to go into punk for what reason? Because you knew, because of the recklessness, was that it? Because of that, because you wanted to be part of that just crazy, have it be more than just, songs.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Mostly lyrical content. It was lyricists like Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedys, and there was a band that I worshipped in high school called Guttermouth, and they had a really like offensive tongue-in-cheek presentation where they would be singing from different points of view. They like Jello Biafra, Dead Kennedys have a song called Police Truck where they're singing about being a brutal police officer, like driving around town getting drunk and committing crimes against people. So there was something about the biting element of being able to have like complete lyrical freedom and not get caught into the idea of trying to make like a catchy song, but more or less like strike people with words.
Right.
And because sonically what I do is all over the place. There's rock riffs, funk riffs, punk riffs, all type of shit, but lyrically it's definitely punk because I'm saying some outlandish shit. You know what I mean? And so I think ultimately I just and then later on we signed with a booking agent that booked all punk bands. So I think as much sonically as my band doesn't fit with the punk thing, I think lyrically we do because it wouldn't fit anywhere else. It's a little too. It's definitely not pop. It's like it's pretty radical.
It's interesting you say that about the lyric and how the lyric, you had to be, you realized that it was clever. You didn't have to say, well, this song is clever. They did this with the lyric. They did this with the lyric or whatever. And that for me was the most important thing. That's why I really liked Elvis Costello and I really loved Andy Partridge of XTC. These guys take the English language and they, it's so fucking clever that you can dissect it and find that most of it is tongue in cheek. You know what I mean? And you find a way to do that and still make it into a really great song that's accessible. That's what turned me on as a lyricist. I was like, oh man, I want to do that, but I want to tell stories, but I also want to turn a phrase every now and then and turn the English language on its head and make fun of it and the whole thing. And you hope that people are clever enough to get it. And if they're not, I'll give you an example. I wrote a song so fucking stupid to this day. 10 years ago, I wrote this song called Facebook Friend. And it was like earlier days of Facebook. And it was just about somebody who was a fucking psycho and he just wanted so many friends. He didn't have any friends in real life. And it was like a pretty banal story. I mean, pretty typical average story. But the guy was going to murder people, and he's going to go out and murder people. But then we record it. And I work with Bill Simsick, who produced all the great Eagles records and Bob Seger and the Who records, And he said he really liked it. He's 20 years older than me. And he's like, I really love that Facebook Friend song. And he didn't really get what it was. And so we ended up taking those things out of it. And now I got this stupid song called Facebook Friend. that's just so dated and it means nothing. Like he took all that fun, like cool, clever stuff out of it. He's like, why does he have to murder? Why do you have to do it? It's like, all right. And we just did it. And now I regret it. And it's out there forever. So yeah. So what I'm saying is, as a songwriter, I have to go, okay, well, am I sacrificing one thing to make another thing better and to release it? You know what I mean? Like I want things to be perfect, but if you make them perfect, how long are they perfect for? You know what I mean? And where's my heart and my mind in the whole thing? Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm not making any sense.
No, it makes total sense. And you want to be able to, what's weird is you want to be able to have that insight like in the moment, but it's almost 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get that insight until fucking 10 years down the road. And you're going to listen to it. Like, dude, there's songs that I thought I was being clever or funny that I listen to now. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus. Like, yo,
you ever get asked to play them?
Some people enjoy them, I'm on because I do live streaming and some people are like, hey, play that one. And I'm just like, I'm never playing that one fucking again. We have a song that sounds like Velvet Revolver and it just talks about Scott Weiland and heroin. We just, and it's Like
it sounds like them. So
Yeah,
you made it sound like them intentionally because that was what the subject matter was.
well,
right?
it actually, we came up with a riff that sounded like them, and then we just were joking around in, because a lot of what I do, there's humor in it. And that's the other thing. It's hard for humor to exist in pop music. In punk, you can kind of get a pass a little bit more. So
I get that.
So that's another reason why I think we live in the punk spheres, because there are bands like NoFX and bands like the Vandals and bands like Guttermouth that have funny kind of lyrics, and it's like, okay, we can tour with these bands, we can be packaged with these bands, and sonically it may not be a perfect fit, but our sensibilities are similar, and their fans will get that we're talking shit and we're making fun and we're just having a good time. But ultimately, when Scott Weiland died, someone's like, there were people on the internet that were posting our song that was like kind of poking fun at just the fact that Wyland and Heroin kind of rhymed in our song. And I had to like go online and be like, yo, don't post like this song, because like I'm an addict and I know, I almost regret even making it, because we just were like having a joke in the garage, but now it like lives on the fucking internet and people were like, haha, Scott Weiland died, I guess he's out of heroin. And it's like, yo, that's not, man. We just were fucking around. And right. When people started sharing it in that context, it really like, it hurt me deeply, because I'm like, holy shit. Like, what's funny to some person, it is, I don't know. It's just,
but everybody's here, the way I look at that would be everybody's going to die at some point.
True.
It's like if you're going to censor yourself, and if you seem like you're an intelligent guy, you're funny, and like, you're very well spoken.
Thanks.
It's like you're going to, in order to turn a phrase and to, like I said, poke fun and for writing satire and this whole thing and being tongue in cheek and sarcastic and all these things with your tongue firmly in your cheek. I mean, that's who you are. Somebody that you write about at some point is something's going to happen to them or something, and it's going to be inappropriate.
Yes.
It's not like blackface would be now, but it is something that you go, well, shit, I feel bad. Now, unfortunately, it's on the internet. It's out there forever. You know
Correct.
what I mean? It's like, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, I feel for you in that situation, but I also think, if you censored yourself and that moment of time when he was alive, you were having fun with it. You know what I mean? And I don't know the song. It could very well be your best song. I don't know.
It's a rocker, bro. But the thing is back what we were talking to with the hindsight and knowing, being able to look at 10 years ago when we recorded that song and just be like, okay, well, but honestly, we were in a different headspace. I wasn't trying to make any sort of grandiose statement with that album. It was the whole concept of the album was it's a kid's album on crack. So it's like all of these really silly songs that don't mean a whole lot. We didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. We just wanted it to sound really catchy, really boppy, like kidsy, cartoonish rock and roll, like, kind of like Zappa type stuff. But like without all of the musical talent,
Right.
So we put out this album, and it was just it was grouped in with a bunch of songs that were pretty meaningless and silly, and had a lot of gobbledygook lyrics that didn't mean a whole lot, and some of it was really offensive, but on purpose. Right. And ultimately, I don't think it hurt anybody, but it's just after the fact, you're like, okay, I was in a different headspace back then. I literally didn't give a fuck about anything. I was just,
exactly. And you're documenting that time.
Yes.
I mean, you're documenting that time. I mean, I'm not the same person that wrote those songs that were on the Villains album. I'm not the same person that wrote The Freshman. And, I mean, I've got a whole other world of experiences now.
True.
You know what I mean? So, and when I put Villains on, if I put Villains on now, I'm going to listen to it and go, oh my God, listen to those drum sounds, listen to Tom Lord Alge's, mixing, listen to this. And remember when we recorded this, and remember I was really super drunk when I recorded this. I can hear the slur in my words, that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, and you're documenting time, and this is like a photograph. This is what it is. This is this time, and this is this time, and this is this time. But for me, the important thing is to leave behind, and I don't know how important that is to me, but it seems to be, that I want to leave, as I'm getting older, I want to leave a good catalog of a variety of different music. You know what I mean? I want to hear all of my influences on there from when I was a kid all the way up until I was a teenager, until I got signed and the whole thing. And I want to be able to sit back in my catalog and be proud of what I've done over the years. You know what I mean? That's all you want. I mean, in the end, I think that's what we really want. That's why, that's why people say, well, are you sick of the freshmen, the whole thing? No, I mean, the freshman will immediately take anybody back to the 90s. I mean, It does have the riff. It's got, it's got the lyric, it's got the melody and everything, but it's got that sonic sound that brings you back into the 90s. And people immediately think of when they used to sing the song with their friends and the whole thing. The song is about fucking abortion and suicide, and people back then, were, singing along with their friends, the happiest time. It's a devastating song, but it doesn't matter because to them, you're documenting a piece of their life at where they were at that time, and that's all they care about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mostly. And that's what's important to me,
And that's fucking very well said. My girlfriend, when I played her the song, because she's a little bit younger than me, she's like 7 years younger than me. When she was born in 88, I was born in 81, and I played her the song. She'd never heard it, and she's like, "Oh, this is cute." And I look at her, and I'm like, "Yo,
never heard it described as cute. I love it."
Yeah, but I looked at her. I'm like, "This song's heavy." She's like, "Yeah, but it sounds cute." And I'm just like,
which version did she hear?
She heard the non Chris Isaac version, the single MTV version, the one that's on Apple Music.
Yeah, she must have heard the kids version that we recorded of it.
No. I don't think she meant like, what she was saying. She was just saying this is pleasant to the ears. Yes. Essentially is what she was saying. And
I think it is. It is
absolutely.
I think that's, the nice thing about it is I can play it on acoustic guitar anywhere, I'm sitting around at a party and play acoustic guitar. I can play it for, somebody's grandparents at a house party or anything. And like, it's a very pleasant thing, so it's like, nobody's thinking about the abortion, which is why I left the word abortion out of the song. You know what I mean?
Good call, dude.
That's where you find the metaphors, so.
Yeah, it's a good call because that is a word that initiate.
Well, here's another thing I'll tell you really quick about that.
Yeah.
There was another artist, I forget her name. Somebody told me this just a couple months ago. I forget her name. She was on RCA for a short period of time, and she had a song about abortion at the same time we did, and they got her to change the song, but they let our song go. And somebody else told me that the similar situation with Brick, with Ben Folds, had the same kind of thing. Like, it was only appropriate at that time for men to talk about abortion is what I came away with in that conversation, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Because that is basically saying let me tell you how an abortion affected me. You know what I mean? Not how it affected her, and I'm lucky that I've come out of that unscathed. Frankly, that doesn't come off like mansplaining. But again, I don't think that the majority of people care because, again, they're brought back to the 90s to a period of time where it didn't matter. They're just having fun and the whole thing, and it brings them back there. So anyway.
Yeah, also, it kind of needs to be explained a little bit for you to know exactly what the song is about. So what you were saying is that people remembered those lines like she was touching her face and fall the laugh of me. It's a great chorus,
right.
And right. As a guy that enjoys all types of music, not just punk rock, pop music, dude, that song, especially with my older sister beating me up and grabbing the remote, that song was played a whole fuckload on MTV. So it definitely... And 89X back in the day, that was a part of my youth.
Oh my God, 89X, dude, that was the best. I remember 92. I think I discovered it in 91, maybe 90. And I just going through Detroit for whatever reason, we were there and stumbling upon 89X and just listening, going, oh, my mind was blown that this music was being played. You know what I mean? I think that's where I was introduced to the Pixies. Probably in 1989, Doolittle, I think they were, not Here Comes Your Man, but like Debaser or something. Hearing like something like, what is this? What is this wizardry? Well,
it's because it was Canadian. It was right over the river, Canadian radio. Right. And it seems like it was less manufactured like playlists and stuff. It seemed like it was 100%. A little bit more organic in their song choices.
Yeah.
At least from what I could gather, it seemed like there was actual DJs being like, well, I want to play this song. A little bit of that.
I mean, I always felt like I didn't feel like there was a program
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember ever hearing the same song, 2 or 3 times a day or anything like that.
It's a country station now.
What?
Yeah, it's gone, dude.
Is it old country?
No, it's like new country. All the radio stations in Detroit are all. I mean, I think the riff is still around, but it's not that hot. And what's weird is hearing fucking on 94.7 WCSX, which is the classic rock station, and hearing like Nirvana on the classic rock station.
Yeah, that's classic rock now.
It's wild.
Soundgarden, the whole thing. It's all classic.
Soundgarden's classic. Yeah, Super Unknown came out 28 years ago, like yesterday. I just read on Facebook.
We picked our producer Michael Beinhorn because of that record, and he did the follow-up record for us. And oh my God, he was a trip to work with. Holy shit. I mean, he set up a tent in the control. Like we went into the control room the first day of recording. He was like, no, they're setting up the tent, and it was like this MASH tent, like from the TV show MASH. Like you open the big doors, the soundproof doors, and then you had to open the tent flaps. And then he had like sandbags and guns in there and a cigar and the whole thing. And he was like the colonel in this fucking thing. And so, I don't know if it was an intimidation tactic or whatever, but my God, we spent a year with that guy making that record. $1.2 million we spent on that fucking record that didn't sell anything.
That was the record after Villains.
Yeah, after the Freshman. Yeah, after Villains. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, but Super Unknown, what a great fucking record that was. Oh my God. It is.
Yeah, and that's like blending of so much different shit. And that's the way the 90s were when you saw Black Hole Sun or what was the other Spoon Man. There's like punk, metal, and pop like all mixed together. And Chris Cornell's amazing vocals. That band was highly influential on me. So yeah, for me to consider myself, well, I'm just a punk guy. No, I'm a music guy. Like that record. I wonder if I still have it, but I bought a kickstand shirt from Rockabilia. Remember you could get Rockabilia in the magazine. You could order stuff on it was before online ordering,
right?
You would send away for t-shirts. I got my first Metallica t-shirt from them. I got my Ride the Lightning shirt, Soundgarden kickstand shirt. The 90s were the shit, dude.
I don't even know that. I don't even know what so what do you mean it was a mail order thing?
Yeah.
How would you know about it though without the internet?
Guitar magazines.
Oh, guitar magazines. Okay.
Yeah, so if you pick up a Guitar World and you're thumbing through it and you're like in 6th grade, and then all of a sudden you see Rockabilia, and it's just a bunch of fucking band t-shirts, and then you have to be like, Mom, can you please buy me a Soundgarden shirt? And then it gets sent to you in 3 weeks, and it's like...
Did you ever join any fan clubs when you were a kid?
I wanted to join the ICP fan club when I was a freshman in high school, and I remember I cut out, because their CD it was like a leaflet, right? And like the third page was their catalog. And I remember checking off all the items I wanted, but I never sprang for it. I think that year, my freshman year of high school, I spent all the money I made at the ice cream job on a JCM 900 Marshall half stack and a Gibson Les Paul Standard. And I worked the entire year, and I confirmed as a Catholic. And then I got money from my fucking dad's side of the family. So I was able to take that Catholic money. That might have been.
Does that happen in the Catholic religion? Do you get money for confirming? And is there like a big thing to do? And then you get envelopes of money?
It might have been junior year of high school. I don't really. All I know is
Catholic.
I confirmed as a Catholic, and all of a sudden, all my right wing Catholic dad's side of the family just gave me money, and I was like, "Yo, I did well."
You picked the right religion.
Yeah,
in my religion, the fucking Protestants, they take money from you. It's like now you got to start paying. You got to put your own money in the collection plate. Is what happened to me. God damn it.
Fuck that, man. I had my ice cream money and I had my Catholic money, and I bought rock and roll shit with it. So
it's funny. When I was a kid, I had the Blue Oyster Cult's Agents of Fortune record, because Don't Fear the Reaper or whatever. And you had to send away for the lyrics, like send a self-addressed stamped envelope to get the lyrics back from them. And I remember my mom found that when I put the envelope on the counter with a stamp on it to send out, and she's like, "You're joining a cult,"
Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult.
A Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Yeah.
So so y'all put out a record in 2021, correct?
Yeah, a record called Threads. Yeah, that's the latest record. I think it's our 10th. It's our 10th. Including the kids' records we put out, but a 10th record, as a band. So, rock record. And I'm happy with it, man. And we're touring this summer, out with Five for Fighting. You know that band?
Sounds really familiar.
They did the song Superman. They're kind of adult, contemporary kind of, but it's a good crowd for us. They'll like the Freshmen, and we'll be able to rock a little bit. So
are they headlining in your support kind of thing?
Yeah, we're supporting them.
Yeah, you gotta love the support gigs because it's not as much pressure,
The best. Besides that, it's a shorter set. You can hit them and quit them. Get 45 minutes of the songs that we want to play to an hour, and then you're done for the day. And these are amphitheaters, so you go on at like 7, or done by 8.
That sounds great.
What I mean? What's that?
Sounds great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they pay a shitload for us to be on the tour with them, which is nice. So it's like, anyway, I could make some money this summer for a change. So it's good. No, I love that. I'm looking forward to that gig for sure. So
yeah, I just talked with the Live Nation rep because my band's doing like a small local thing around Detroit. But he said pretty much that it's up to the bands at this point with the COVID requirements. Like,
what do you mean? What's up to the bands?
Like whether or not you want to have the show be vax only, because you know how Live Nation was like they were really the most strict because it's the most corporatized out of all of the concert promoters. Like about last year, everything was you gotta have to show your proof of vax and yada yada, and it was just so weird talking to someone that works for that company and they're like, yeah, COVID's over, and I'm just like,
yeah,
what? What?
It's almost like they just decided it. Well, it's over now. So what do you do? What I thought was going to happen, and I'm not sure if it's happening now or not, it's going to happen soon, I think, is that every band, because a lot of these bands didn't go out, every band's going to want to go out, and promoters are going to be in the catbird seat because they're going to be able to get bands cheaper because everybody wants to go out. And it's going to be harder and harder to get gigs. And I've already felt that pinch. You know what I mean? So we're not playing the places on, around the East Coast and everything that we were playing 2 years ago because every band's out. They all want to play the shows, So we'll see. I don't know. A year from now, we could have this conversation again and see what it's like. But
that's the thing. It's funny because Homeboy's like, COVID's over, but it's like, wait till fucking November. We'll see how over it is, Yeah,
you never know, right? Who knows what next variants coming. Everybody would just get vaxxed. God damn it. See, now we're going to go off on my whole thing. No, that's fine.
You can if you want. I mean, I got all the needles, man. I got pricked 3 fucking times, and I still got COVID twice. So yeah,
we did a parody of the surrender of Cheap Chick's Surrender, and it was, it was to the anti-vaxxers, and so we changed the lyrics to get vaccinated today or whatever. Oh my God, I got so much shit. Every day, thousands of comments. Again, from anti-vaxxers, and we're at the point where my stomach just turned on itself, and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. Every time I got on TikTok, I'd see 1,000 comments, and I'd be like, holy fuck, and they were all about that, and they were all from this right-wingers, and I was like, and then they got on my daughter's TikTok and talked shit, they got on my wife's and talked shit, and I was just like, enough, I got to shut it down. Well, turns out Cheap Trick shared it, and Rick Nielsen shared it on top of that. And I'm like, all right, well, let them take the heat from now on. I'm done with it, So I ended up just taking it down. I'm like, done. Get it. But
at this point, you just burned yourself out, especially for some reason with TikTok. There's so much negativity. At least I've experienced, because when I joined that band, Reagan Youth, I joined that punk band for a couple of years, and I was like, they were just really mad at me because I wasn't the original lead singer who's dead.
Right.
And so there was a period of some months there where I just would open up my phone and it would just be like, you suck, you're terrible, fuck you, you'll never be this guy. And then I would retort, I'd be like, yeah, because I'm not that guy, I'm me. And they'd be like, you're a goofy motherfucker, fuck you. And yeah,
you handle well. I've seen you post a few times where where somebody criticizes you and you actually post a comment and that kind.
It's fun
and direct it toward them. And but for you, and I can only go with my connection with you is that I didn't know your music. You're an authentic guy. Like you can go through there and you can see the people that are authentic. Just who they are and putting themselves out there and don't give a shit and are funny and the whole thing. That's how I think you're going to get followers, in my opinion. If I was your manager, if I was your major label, I'd say,
are you looking for clients
for being authentic?
I'm self-managed right now. You looking for clients, dude? You want to?
No, I'm just saying. No, that's the last thing I want.
No, but go on. What you're saying? What were you saying?
You know,
what were you saying?
I was just saying, but that's how I know you. And that's where the appeal for you is on TikTok, at least for me. And I think you're going to get a lot of followers for that reason. You know what I mean? And also, you're not afraid to make fun of yourself and like, you just don't take yourself seriously, it seems. And those are the kind of people that I follow. I like to follow.
Well, thanks. Well, what's weird is, I'll post something and I'll just be like, well, fuck you, and I'll throw it back at people, but I'm still a pretty sensitive dude. At the end of the day, you can at the end of the day, you can only take so many strangers saying that you're this or that. But it's easier for that shit to roll off my back if it's some stranger on the internet as opposed to someone you actually know and or respect. Like I don't know. I just feel like I feel like there are things my girlfriend could say to me that would hurt me way more than some butthole on TikTok, Of
course.
She knows where to stick the knife. All the buttholes on TikTok are just like, your teeth suck and you can't sing and you're dumb. Like
they're sticking the knife like that. They're like, just trying to get something through, that you'll acknowledge it. Yeah, the people that love you, ironically, are the ones that can stick it right to you where it hurts every day. And you know what? Your kids do it. My kids do it better than anybody.
Ruthless, man.
Ruthless. So, I got another call at fucking 2:00. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, you gotta go.
I feel like I took you in the wrong directions here.
No, this is great. This is so cool because you asked me some questions. It was a little bit more of a back and forth, and I had all these questions I wanted to ask you. Some of them were dumber than others, and it was organic. We had a conversation. Well, beautiful.
If you want to do it again, I'd love to do it again at some point. Let's do it again. Because this is the kind of podcast I enjoy much more than the stuffy ones.
Yeah, this ain't stuffy, bro. Well, hey, real quick while I got you here, because you got to take this other call. Just we got Brian Vander Ark, fucking Verve Pipe. Yo, Michigan dude done well. What would you like to promote? Any sort of links you would like to, any sort of anything?
It's always best to go, look, we've been pushing the TikTok thing because I love that format. And we have a lot of fun with it. So go to our TikTok, Verve Pipe, follow us. And then thevervepipe.com and thevervepipemerchandise.com. Our new album is called Threads. And it's out now. We just got the vinyl in, which is very exciting. And we're on tour this summer. I mean, you can find our social media on pretty much every platform. That's it.
Dude, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Neil.
And thanks for enriching my early days as an MTV viewer.
Did you see these? I got bugs in here.
Yeah, it looks like a moth.
Okay. I'm harvesting these baby
Kill it with fire. But hey, thanks. I'm going to let you hit the button and hang up. But I really appreciate it. And thanks for asking me questions. And thanks for watching my shit. And thanks for being my friend on TikTok. And dude.
I love it. All right, bro. Thanks, Neil.
All right, we'll see you soon, man.
See you, man.
Hey, do you like this video? Do you want to see more stuff like it? Well, consider being a patron of my Patreon page, patreon.com/Neil P. If you pledge monthly, you get some perks, you get some exclusive content, and you get to help stuff like this get made on the monthly. Yo, check it out.